CK, we are so happy to have you tonight. They are super proud of being a bigender, neurodiverse kidlit author. And they are here tonight to read and discuss their journey in creating a costume for Charlie, which is their debut picture book. CK, if you want to come on board here, I'm so happy you're here. It's just so exciting to actually have this face-to-face connection. Yes, love the glasses. CK, thank you so much for being here. I know this really has been a journey for you in so many ways, and I'm so grateful to have you in 12 by 12. You are a shining light. You're so supportive of everyone else, me included, that it's just an honor to be able to support you in return. And I love your book.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to support. Thank you, and I love you all. So my book is A Costume for Charlie, written by me and illustrated by the wonderful Alejandra Bra, who's just an amazing talent and who I believe was just signed to another book with Christina Dendi. So I'm super excited to see Alejandra receiving much more work for illustrations. Great illustrator. Suggest her to all your people. So we have A Costume for Charlie. And then my lovely editor, Shrita Lee, really wanted Alejandra to do something in the beginning, so had all these beautiful bats, which I think are super cool. And there is an author's note, but I'm not going to spend forever reading that. But the dedication was important. I put to the person reading this book, you're loved for exactly who you are. No matter who you are, how you identify, whatever happens, you're still loved no matter what. So then we have A Costume for Charlie. So each Halloween, Charlie couldn't decide whether to be fabulous or frightening. And this year was harder than ever. Charlie rummaged through the mishmash in the old costumes box for something that showed they were both a boy and a girl. One by one, Charlie tried on costumes. The astronaut costume covered them completely. The clown costume wasn't very funny. And hiding behind monstrous masks wasn't the point at all. The costumes puddled at Charlie's feet. All were great, but not quite right. Charlie dug deep into the box. The Red Riding Hood costume? Red fascinated in the fairy tale, but everyone called her a girl. Charlie wriggled into the outfit. The fabric fluttered through the air, yet their boy half felt eaten by the wolf. Maybe fairy tale heroines weren't for them. Charlie grabbed the Dracula costume, though in the story, Dracula was a blood-curdling boy. Off came Red's costume, and a vengeful vampire appeared. Still, Charlie fretted and frowned. The glistening teeth terrified and fangy delight, but took a bite out of their girl.
Did you always know that this was going to be like a story that was based around costumes, or just how did you get started? Because this is a big topic and you condensed it so beautifully into this story.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for all your comments. So it was always meant to be costumes, because when I was about 11, then I had known earlier than that, as many people do, you just don't have a name for it. But I knew that I wanted to show people how I felt, because people just always said when I was growing up, like, tomboy. That was always, that's a tomboy. And it's not. And of course, my parents knew quite a bit about the physical things that come with Turner syndrome and being intersex. But it was hard to explain to people or even get out to people. And until I met, she was born AMAB, which is assigned male at birth, but Black trans female, who became such a good friend, who was on my block. And I would talk to her about everything. And back then it was like an anomaly for her to be in this neighborhood that was a very diverse neighborhood, but not welcoming at all to Black trans females or any trans people of any color. And I would talk to her and I was telling her everything. And she actually helped me create the costume that I wore to show people, which was sad because that's originally what was in the book. It was more a tribute to her, but I was told that Charlie didn't have enough agency and everything else, and finding out what that meant. But it was very much wanting to tell this story that, yes, like, people want to show this side very early on as children, but people tell them the wrong people tell them it's a phase you're going through, or no, you don't really feel that way, or you get all the other things that are told to you, which are not fun. But I wanted it to be about costumes because costumery is a big deal to the LGBTQIA plus community anyway. You go to pride parades and it's just the most glorious, beautiful thing one can ever see. And it's when people can really show off themselves. So yeah, I always meant it to be about costumes, and I always meant it to be about Charlie being able to show off that costume. I just had to cut a couple pieces out, but I still have the original with the picture of my friend.
So you mentioned Charlie having agency, which is advice that we would get, that characters, we want them to solve their own problems when and if they can. And did that feedback come from critique partners, or did it come from your editor after the book was acquired?
So I entered PB Pitch after I had written Charlie, and this is before Andrew Hackett or Mindy ever had their hands on it. And I just was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to do this, la, la, la. And so I did it, and it got some agent likes. And the comments that came back were, they love this, but Charlie didn't have any agency. So then I had to look up what that meant.
What does that mean?
and actually learn about the craft of picture books. But even doing that, I wouldn't have been able to even closely have it prepared without those two people who then really critiqued it and then made it so that when it met Patricia and the first critique group through 12 by 12, to where it could actually be something great. But no, by the time Dan got it, it was already a lot like this, only it started off with a prince and princess costume. And so during the meeting with Sharita, it was like, okay, well, that's a little generic.
Maybe a bit on the nose.
Yeah. What can we come up with where people equate with this just being a boy and this just being a girl? And there was actually surprisingly a lot of editing to make sure that we stayed away from a lot of common things. But then there were some things that I was like, I can't take out. So sorry, the kid's going to wear pants because I wear pants and I'll code switch, which means you do what people expect of you. So sometimes I'll look like a female, but if I'm in a situation that's either unsafe or where it's expected. But otherwise, yeah, it changed quite a bit as far as making sure we didn't want to alienate or offend